When offered a contract, what's the best way to ensure you understand the contract before you sign? It's a great question. Is it a good idea to get an entertainment lawyer? So I get this question a lot, and I'm always kind of not, I'm very careful about how I answer it because a lot of people want to send me their contract and they'll say, Jesse, here's the contract they signed. They sent me. Do you think I should sign it? Please don't do that. Everybody watching this, do not send me contracts. I'm not a lawyer. Okay. And I'm certainly not going to be in a position where I look at a legal document for you and advise you on what to do about that. That's not my business. That's not my place. I'm certainly not going to, put myself in a risky situation by, giving you some legal advice. And if it works out not well for you, you come back to me with a big problem about it. So no thanks. That's not my job. That's not what I'm going to do. How do you understand it? Like, how do you get this stuff? Well, for sure, what you can do is every contract that I've ever gotten in the sync licensing business is written in a plain English enough way that I could understand probably 90% of it. And I think most of you guys that have seen a contract with the library, about 90% of it is just regular English. You can understand it, and they write it in a way that's not. It's not a record contract. So Leah, I don't know if you've seen a licensing contract before, but a lot of us are thinking, probably if we've never seen one, we're thinking it's like this stack of papers, and we have to literally go through it like a fine tooth comb. We're like, well, there's going to be something in there that's going to screw us up or whatever. Sync licensing contracts are pretty short. They're a couple pages at the most, maybe 4 or 5 pages. They're not very, very long. They have every bit of every topic that they're going to cover with a sort of like bold word, like it'll say term, like how long is this contract going to last? And it'll tell you in plain English, this is how long your contract's going to last. It'll say maybe ownership splits or fees or something like that. And it'll have all this stuff split up. It might have different words. But what I will say is that when you work with a legitimate library, and if you guys are, going with SyncEdge, you guys are getting these companies, that if there's something in the contract you do not understand, the first thing I would do is probably not go run out and hire an entertainment attorney. You might need to. I'm not saying you never should, but it might not be the first thing I would do just because it's going to cost money maybe, and you might not need to actually do that. First thing I would do is actually, believe it or not, ask the library directly to clarify a particular clause. And this is what I tell everybody who emails me their contracts and I say, I'm not giving you advice. I'll say, listen, if you got questions with them, ask them. Legitimate libraries have no problem taking the time to get on the phone with you or email you and let you know exactly what a contract means, right? And they'll tell you, well, when it says this, it means 50% goes to us, 50% goes to you, or whatever they're trying to clarify, okay? So definitely ask them. And this is also a great sort of litmus test to find out, is this a company I should be working with? Because when you get back to them and you ask them these really important legal questions, how they respond to you will kind of give you an idea. Is this a company that I should be working with? Because if they come back to you and say, listen, sign it or don't sign it, stop asking us questions, done. Get out of there, right? You don't want to work with a company who's putting pressure on you, who's not being clear with you. And when you ask for clarification, they're giving you a hard time about it. Man, they might have just saved you a lot of wasted effort and maybe months or years of putting music in their catalog, and they're not going to be your advocate at all. So, but if they get back to you, and most of them, legitimate ones will, they're just going to get back to you and say, oh, no problem. This is what it means. It means this and this and this. Go with your gut on that one. Do you feel that that was a sufficient answer? Does that clarify it? Does their answer match now what you're seeing in the contract? If you're still like, well, I don't really know, then go talk to an attorney. That would be the sort of step that I would do, and let them know, hey, listen, thank you so much for clarifying that. I'm going to check into a couple things and I'll get right back to you as soon as possible. Don't let them hang, let them know that you're still considering it or whatever. Okay. But for the most part, you're going to know exactly what these contracts say, what they mean. It's pretty well, it's in sort of like layman's language. It's not in legalese, right? It's not in that sort of weird language that nobody really understands. They know that who they're sending these contracts to are regular people, regular Joes and Janes, right? Like you and I. So they're not going to be putting a lot of complicated language into them for the most part.